Hey everyone, it's Jerry at the Fledge. Welcome to another episode of Every Damn Day. And today we're going to start it different. I'm going to let Morgan start it.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. This is an ode to the 517. Capital dreams and centralized nightmares. Looking for some? You can find them both right here. Ready to access, no purchases required. These people around here are looking to be inspired. See, they've sweat and bled and broken their backs. Weary souls, sick of all these character attacks. They're not dumb, not lazy, not down nor out. They'll rise to the occasion. They'll scream and they'll shout, "We're here, God damn it, and we've got what it takes." You can feel their hearts tremor just like earthquakes, but you won't see their nerves shake. They've got ice in their veins, but warmth in their hearts, gears turning in their brains. See, the world would have you think that we're a shadow of what we once were, paralyzed with fear and entirely unsure of how to keep up with contemporary influence. But we've been here all along. What do you think that we've been doing? Clock in, go to work, clock out, go to our homes, like we're industrialized robots or mindless drones. Follow these rules, absorb all these lessons, or life will cut you up like biology class dissections. Instead, we stand against these notions. Our people and our area are more worthy of our devotions. We'll instead find ourselves clothed in support for each other. We're all family together, born from the same mother. Whether we are blood or adopted, we're all from here originally or co-opted. But there's no stoppage to be found from amongst these people. Go around the world, and you'll find no equal. You'll find good. You'll find evil. You'll find things that are neutral. Look all over, seek whatever, but absorb the truth, though. Label us how you will, call us what you'd like, because we are poised and ready to strike while the iron's hot. Always ready for our shot. Redemption, reinvention, the stakes can't be higher. There's a grit in our guts, in our soul. There's a fire that burns, no, rather rages. We'll be the ones writing our own pages. Give us a chance to show you what we are made of. We're not looking for someone to come save us. We're perfectly capable of rising from these ashes. Soldiers coming headlong to best life's clashes. See, we've been through highest highs and lowest lows. We've taken all of life's toughest blows, and we'll be here still, no conditions withstanding. Working, learning, growing, better understanding. We are who we are, and that's never going to change. We can achieve greatness within our range. For whether we're strange or whether we're normal, blue collar, white collar, casual or formal, is this hell or is this heaven? We are who we are. We're the 517.
And you know I love that. I love it a lot. Man, you're that ode to the 517, it just right now it gave me chills. It gave me kind of a cycle that we've been in. You did that at the open house at the Fledge. And it is so much what our mission and our message is, just built into it. And the pride of Lansing, you make me so proud.
Well, thank you. I love Lansing. I've been all over the world. I've been to 7 different countries. I've lived in a couple different states, and Lansing has always been and will always be home.
You are such an enthusiast. I think I sometimes say people are a fan or they're a supporter or whatever, but you make me pumped up, man. Let's go. Let's fix some things. That's how I feel after I hear you. So, man, I think you just told us a lot about who you are and what you do, but I'm going to ask you again. Would you mind telling us who you are and what you do?
Not at all. So I'm Morgan Madden. I am a spoken word poet and performer. Write all my own poetry, memorize it, and perform it. I also work at a coin shop in my spare time. That's just my day job. But poetry is my passion. Finding my voice and trying to make a connection to other people through that is what I do and what I love.
So tell us, where are you from? Were you born here?
So I'm from Mason, Michigan originally, which is, 15, 20 minutes away from Lansing. But I spent the whole of my life up until college, no more than an hour away from Lansing. Went to a few different schools in Minnesota and then in Michigan. But yeah, I'm a 517 native, born and bred.
Did you go to high school here?
Oh, I went to a high school about 45 minutes north of Lansing called Fulton. It's in the middle of nowhere. I graduated in a class of 59.
I know Fulton. Yeah, my daughter used to run track there a lot.
No kidding.
Yeah, they used to have a tournament or something. Um, so tell us about your spoken word work that you've been doing and all of that.
Yeah. So I actually got started. 2014 was my first performance I ever did at MSU at one of the open mics. But since then, I've been performing locally, several different venues in Lansing. I put out an album of June of 2018 called Qualifiers, which is available on all major streaming services. And I recorded that at the Fledge. Worked with my producer friend Matt at the Fledge and doing that. Had a fantastic time. And then I've just been performing ever since. I've gotten a chance to perform with the biggest viewed poet on YouTube named Neil Hilborn. I just had an opportunity to perform with him a few nights ago. I've been performing at open mics, at paid gigs. I got a chance to perform at the Fledge Open House. I got a chance to perform on the steps of the Capitol building here in Lansing. It's afforded me a lot of opportunities, a lot of great connections.
So, what's one of the things that really motivates you about Lansing? I mean, there's a lot of passion in that ode to the 517, and I think you've got a couple others about Lansing as well. But what's the inspiration that Lansing gives you to be able to write something so powerful?
Well, I am the seventh generation of my family to live in Lansing. We've been here since 1876. My dad helped build the Hall of Justice downtown, the Michigan State Supreme Court, essentially, build some of the buildings. My great-grandfathers had car dealerships here at one point. My grandmother was a who's who of Lansing residents at the turn of the 21st century. So my family is stitched into this city inseparably. Born and raised here, and everything that I've done in my life, Lansing's been at the hub of that. It's always felt like that's where my roots have been put down, even if I'm not from Lansing myself. My family is. And the way that we view the world, the way that we've gone out and established ourselves all over the place, is rooted in Lansing. It's raised by Lansing. And the passion that I feel for it is that it always seems like it gets looked over. Like when I lived in other states, people would say, oh, well, you must be from Detroit, or oh, you're a Youper, or oh, is it this burnt out, bullet hole riddled shell of a city? And I hate that notion. There's parts of it, sure, but to label it like that and just write it off as this post-industrial hellscape isn't how I see it at all. And I feel like there's this beautiful meshing of blue-collar, industrial, hardworking grit mixed with this academic, at points in Lansing, academic, artistic bent. And the beauty of those two things mixed together is unlike anything I've experienced anywhere else in the whole of my life. Detroit has elements of that, and Grand Rapids has elements of that, and other cities have elements of that. But Lansing has its own particular flavor that is unlike anywhere else in the world, and there is so much potential here that has yet to be tapped into. And I guess the biggest driving force is to represent Lansing and show people, yeah, there's stuff here. There's good stuff here. There's good people here. And it's not just abandoned GM lots or stores that have gone out of business. It's not just empty landscapes. There's a lot of potential here, a lot of creativity here. All you have to do is tap into it, and you will be repaid in full for your investment, both culturally, financially, whatever.
So that makes me think of a couple of subjects I kind of want to explore with you. The first one is, what do you see? You said Lansing's untapped. What starts happening when we're tapped? Like, what's your vision? Like, where do you think we'll be in 5 years? I don't know. That's a weird question.
Yeah.
But you get the gist of what I'm talking about. What do you think our potential could realize?
On the artistic side, I think that it's almost limitless. I would love to see people painting murals. We had the Below the Stacks festival murals painted on the side. I would love to see more rappers coming out of here. I would love to see more poets coming out of here. We're right next to Michigan State University, trying to create a bridge between those two forces. I would love to see this city be a musical, artistic, cultural hub in this state. Um, I've heard people on the East and West Coast refer to the Midwest and Northern Plains states and all that as flyover states. And I think a lot of people view Lansing as a flyover city. You know, it's like you're either coming from Detroit to Grand Rapids or Detroit to Chicago, but either way, Lansing doesn't factor in. I want to see that change, and I think it can and will.
Yeah. So you've used the word diversity a couple of times. What do you see as like the thought that comes out of that diversity? Because it's easy to talk about skin color and different religions and stuff like that, but diversity of thought. What's your experience with that been in Lansing?
So I think when you talk about diversity of thought, it's different approaches to things. You know, it can be mutually exclusive ideas, and there's this idea of the free marketplace of ideas. You know, you kind of put out whatever you think is the best avenue to go down for whatever thing you're talking about. But I like to see that made manifest in how shows are set up or how buildings are repurposed. You know, just taking different approaches to that and seeing what works best. I kind of can't help but think too of gentrification when they tear down buildings that have this character to them, this old motif, this story that's built over generations and decades. The buildings that generally tend to take the place of those buildings that were torn down are very cookie cutter. You know, it's just like you just copy and paste all of these different apartment complexes one to the other. Um, and I think Lansing can do better than that. I think Lansing has done better than that and needs to continue to do better than that in a physical sense and in a figurative sense.
Well, being here for, you said 7 generations, is that
Mm-hmm.
right? So do you see that sometimes? Do you take that personal? I
A little
mean,
bit. Yeah.
yeah.
It's like there's something there. A perfect example. I live a couple of blocks away from where Emil's used to be, Emil's, the Italian restaurant. And that was a family owned Italian restaurant that served Lansing for 92 years. And unfortunately, they went out of business, but they tore that down. That was probably 4 or 5 generations of that family that worked there and served people there. And they just put up this really generic multi purpose apartment building that it looks like it's half empty. But it has character to it. And I like the idea of saying this is something that's established here and we can reconfigure that. You know, I could even point to the Fledge and say, here's something where you had something that was established, and rather than tearing it down and rebuilding something, you made it your own. You know, you innovated what you could do with that. And you took a very creative approach to that.
Well, thank you for that. So have you, and we never prepare for, I mean, the questions that I'm going to ask you, so I don't know where we're going to go with this, but do you ever, you talked about your grandmother was a who's who. Did you know her? Did you talk with her? I mean, all of that. Did she ever tell you stories of something that she thought was great that happened in Lansing, or something that she was devastated by? Anything like that you can think of?
Yeah.
And if you say no, well, yeah, okay.
Yeah. No, she always talked about Lansing, the people from Lansing, as just being really good people. She always spoke in very high terms of them. My grandfather, so I had a chance to tell this story not too long ago. My grandfather, when he was a child, had a cross burnt in his front yard by the KKK. My great grandparents did. And the people in his neighborhood had that happen to them because they were Catholic. And they were having their masses, their church services, in basements and in funeral parlors and stuff like that because they didn't have their own church. So after that happened, they decided to get together and build their own church in their neighborhood, which they did. And they named it Holy Cross as a big old, Frank, I'll just say it. It was a big old fuck you to the KKK.
All right.
And that's the kind of story that I like. That's the kind of story that makes me think about unifying in the face of those sorts of things. and really just gets me excited. The best indicator for future activity is past activity. If somebody has a pattern of doing something, there's no reason to think that it's just going to stop all of a sudden and change. And if Lansing has a history of unifying in the face of ugliness and evil and hatred, I think it can do it again.
So we're gonna veer off a little bit more. How do you think Lansing's doing right now?
I think Lansing's in the middle of a gut check. I think Lansing has sort of lost its way in some parts. People that get too comfortable, and I think when I talk about being seventh generation, there's a way that can be taken like, oh, this is my city, it belongs to me, more so than, say, somebody who just moved here or doesn't have that many generations here. And I never want it to be like that. I think it's in Lansing's best interest that it's not like that. But there are people who do feel that way, like they've been here long enough that they're entitled to things being a certain way and staying that way, and they want to push back against that. And that's just not the way it should be anywhere, especially Lansing. It needs to be a fluid thing. It needs to be open to new people coming in and saying, here's where we can improve. Because I feel like if somebody took the trouble, made the initiative, made the effort to get here from somewhere else, they want to be here. They've earned that. They paid their dues. They didn't just get born here and feel like they're stuck here and want to be complacent here. They want to be movers and shakers. And we need to be able to be receptive to those people and say, okay, here's an outsider's perspective. I've seen it this way my whole life, but how do you see it as a newcomer?
I love you, Morgan. I love that answer. I just have to make room for others. There's plenty of room. There's plenty of abundance here. We need to make room for others and celebrate our diversity. And I knew you were going to have the answer. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
But that is your job, right? To do spoken word in beautiful ways.
I try to, sometimes it works better than others.
So about a year ago, I stole the phrase from Compton. I saw some graffiti somewhere that said Compton raised me. And I said, shit, man, Lansing raised me. And, when I first said that, I thought of you. And I think you like that phrase. What does that phrase mean to you? But in particular, one of the struggles I'm having with people really adopting it is the newcomer. Because the newcomer might have been here for only a year and they can't really engage with that phrase. How do I fix that?
Yeah.
Please solve all my problems for me.
I'm here to troubleshoot. No, I think that it's a legitimate thing to say, Lansing raised me. It feels more hands-on. It feels more long-term. Like you say, your parents raised you. That's at least 18 years of influence right there. So when it comes to somebody being raised by something, it feels like you had to be there from the start. And I could see where that would be an issue for some people who aren't from Lansing originally. I personally kind of see both sides of that because I'm not from Lansing proper myself. Some people get kind of snooty about that too. Like, oh, well, you just got here. Oh, you're from Mason. That's a totally different thing. It's like talking about, I don't know, Grosse Pointe versus Detroit or something, and it's night and day. But I think that if you were to say like Lansing shaped me or something like that, it's a little bit more fluid. It's a little bit more influential of like Lansing shaped me to be who I am right now, or Lansing drew me in. I'm here for a reason. And to veer off a little bit more on a tangent, I used to work, I won't say where, but I worked at a shop that was a Lansing staple for a while and recently closed. But I had a lot of coworkers who were from Lansing and lived their whole lives here. And the way that they would talk about Lansing was that people were stuck. It's like they failed into staying in Lansing as opposed to wanting to be here. Like they just didn't have any other options, and this is just familiar, so I guess we're staying here. There was stagnant.
Yeah.
And I really hated that because there are a lot of people who come here on purpose. Lansing's the destination, not the starting point. And I feel like as citizens of Lansing and just the Lansing area in general. Talent retention, making Lansing a destination. We're moving in that direction, and I like to see us moving in that direction. But I feel like people in Lansing also need to take pride and take stock in that as well, and recognize that, yeah, you're part of this too. It's not just an organization, it's not some think tank, it's everybody.
If you try to empathize with those people, what do you think brings them to that spot though? Because I think about that all the time. It always is like people think we're settling. And like you, I've been around the world so many times and I keep coming back here. This is where I want to be. But why don't other people see that? What are your thoughts there? Let's be them for a second.
Yeah. Honestly, I think it's because I've had time to think about this. It really stuck in my craw when they said it. I think it's projection. I think it's, I don't like this area and I'm not putting forward any effort to change it to how I'd like it to be. And I can't get out because I'm stuck doing a job I don't like. So it must be that everybody else is in this boat with me. That everybody else is stuck here because they just don't have any other options. And I feel like that projection is put on the people who chose to come here, who want to be here. And I think it's also put on the people who want to stay here, want to have a vested interest in this community. And that takes work, and that takes time, and that takes effort. And some people don't want to put in that time or effort. And that's their prerogative, but ultimately you can't really gripe if you don't have any effort that you put into it.
Is there something you do every damn day to change that, to move your mission forward, to make people more proud, I guess?
Every damn day I go out and I represent the 517, whether I'm here or whether I'm in a different part of the world. I'm here more often than not, but I'm proud to be from here. I'm proud to say that my family has put in a lot of work and effort to make this what it is, for better or for worse. And I want to make sure that I do my part to do that as well. I'm not building buildings. I'm not selling cars. I'm not, bleeding in the streets, but I am putting my heart out there. I am putting my poetry out there to try to get a little bit of attention on this beautiful neck of the woods, this beautiful part of the world with all these beautiful people here.
Do you see how you impact culture?
Yeah, I think there's, ripples that go further that sometimes I don't get to see, but in the here and now, what I can see, I'm the 517 guy. I've had people come up and tell me, I don't know your name, but I know that. I've had people tell me, I couldn't name another one of your poems, but I know an ode to the 517. I've had people tell me that I represent it harder than any other artist that they've ever heard. And I do take some pride in that. I don't want to be a one-trick pony, but it has impacted me more than I could ever really articulate. And
did you coin the phrase "Love Lansing"?
No,
because people have said that before.
Really? Well,
I don't know.
Get some of the royalties off that, maybe.
So, do you think? And this is a weird question. I'm sorry about this, but do you think like people will be reading about the history of Lansing and the ode to the 517 will be in there?
I hope so. A mutual connection of ours and I have been talking about trying to get that commissioned on a statue.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. So we've actually taken the steps to look into what that looks like and get funding from the city.
That would be awesome. So, oh man, there's so many things I want to talk to you about. Yesterday on the show, I had Brandon from Artist Umbrella, and I think you're a member of Artist Umbrella and Opportunity Arts. Any other affiliations you want to give a shout out to real quick?
Absolutely. So I am an affiliate of Opportunity Arts. I am a proud performer with the Artist Umbrella. I've also been performing a lot with the Poetry Room. Shout out to Masaki Takahashi for setting that up and running that.
Yeah, Masaki, come on my show.
I'll see what I can do. Pull some strings.
Right.
But yeah, those are the big ones. I had pretty humble beginnings, and they're still pretty humble, but those are the people that are my ride or dies.
All right. So Brandon, yesterday he had a question. We always pass a question to the next show, and he knows, as everybody knows, how much you love Lansing. So his question is heart twisting. His question was, if you could move to any other city in the world and not Mason, what would that city be?
Yeah. So it would pain me to have to leave Lansing for whatever reason. But that having been said, for the sake of conversation, I would go with London. I
Yeah.
really would like to check out London and live there for a time and see what that's like. I got a chance to visit when I think it was 13, and I really liked it.
So you're into the cities that begin with L, huh? So like maybe Laos would be after that, or
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, make it Louisiana. We'll go there.
tell. All right, so I'm really challenging you. I'm sorry about this. Tell me one thing that London and Lansing have in common.
Well, besides being L cities, I think that there's a lot of art in both of them. They're both capital cities in one way or another. I think that there's a lot of beauty. There's a lot of history. It's different kinds of history. Um, yeah, we'll just go with that.
And London has a diversity to it too, right? I mean,
Yep,
it's really rich in tons of things.
absolutely.
So tomorrow on the show, you have somebody who you actually know, or we have somebody that you actually know better than I do, um, Sarah. And what question would you like? Well, Sarah is with. Oh no, I didn't write it down.
Contrasted content.
Contrasted content. What question would you like to pass on to Sarah?
So I would want to ask Sarah if she could paint on any surface in the world, what would she want to paint on, whether it's the side of a building or a plot in the desert, and what would she want to paint on that surface? A two-parter.
Okay, so I'll ask you, if you could collaborate with anybody in the world, who would you want to collaborate with, and what subject maybe would you want? Or maybe you don't know the subject yet.
Yeah. So there's a rapper out of Houston who's come into my consciousness as of recent, and his name is Toby and Wigway, and his whole ethos has been about having purpose at the core of his creative output. And not only is he just absurdly talented, in my opinion, but having that ethos at its core, I think dictates and guides a lot of what he does and how he does it. And I feel like that's something that I have some of, but not to the same extent that he does. And I'd really like to explore that more in some creative endeavor with him, or at least just have a chance to have a conversation with him, if not collaborate.
Okay, I like that a lot. How do you make that happen?
Oh, with him, I'm sure he's got a business email, but he's probably a little too high up for me.
We'll
Fortunately,
tag him and see if he'll come on.
yeah, fortunately, we've got a lot of good backup options here in Lansing, and I'm looking forward to collaborating with them. Absolutely.
So I've got a question from the crowd. I'm going to throw up on the screen real quick. It's Chris Pruitt, the happiest homeless person enterprises. He's doing a turkey or a tea day giveaway tomorrow at the park across from the Radisson. But what he's saying is, what do you think the arts community in Lansing could focus on to help the people in the streets here? And he's a homeless advocate. So yeah, you know
Yeah,
where he's coming from.
absolutely. I think that I've seen people in other cities have an opportunity to work with the city, and it's just usually like manual labor, mowing lawns, raking yards, whatever. I would love to see an artistic fusion put into that and say, okay, I want to commission this abandoned building to be repurposed with murals on the inside and the outsides. And we would commission a certain number of people to be able to paint something like that. And I feel like when you give people the keys to the city in a sense like that, where it's more hands-on and you have a vested interest in that, that they have that purpose, that meaning, that fulfillment that we were saying that other people earlier don't. Like, oh, well, if they're not listening to me, then why should I listen to them? If they don't care about me, why should I care about them? And I think the onus is on the city to say, we do care about you and we want to get you involved so that not only can we help your plight in life, but we can make you feel like you are truly part of this community. I'd love to see something like that. I think it's possible.
So homeless people painting murals, is that part of what you just said, or?
Yeah, I think that would, and commissioned, paid.
Yeah.
That's the key part. I don't think you just say, you don't have any other choice, so we're going to twist your arm and force you into this. But I think that that's something.
He's just, yeah, he's with you on that. Chris is an expert too. So he really loves your answer. And your answer made me think there's so much genius lost in poverty, right? So there are other kids down the street from here who want to get into spoken word. There are other kids that want to be artists. There are other kids who have so much genius in math that they could be one of the best computer scientists ever, but they don't see those opportunities. And you, my friend, are an example of the opportunity. You are somebody doing it, somebody from here. You don't need salt water to say profound things. You don't need salt water to build software. You don't need salt water to build a cool city. And I love that you understand that.
Well, thank you. And I absolutely agree. Your guest tomorrow and I have talked about this at length, but I feel like a lot of people feel like they need a license to do that. Like they need to go through some screening process to be deemed worthy of trying something out, whether it's computer programming or art or painting or whatever. And just to know, no, you don't. I didn't have to file any paperwork to do what I do. I didn't need somebody to, I didn't need to kiss somebody's ring to do that. I just did. And thankfully, my medium is something that doesn't require a lot of money to be put into it. But to have that desire to do that and to have somebody give you an opportunity to do that, I think is why the Fledge is so crucial. And I think that the community at large really would be in their best interest to embrace that and say, okay, where do we have talent from within that isn't being tapped into? What can we do to foster that? And I think on top of that, to retain that talent. It's really easy to just say, okay, well, screw Lansing. I'm going to go to Detroit, Chicago, New York, LA, Houston, Dallas, wherever. What can we do to keep those people here in Lansing, keep them proud to be from Lansing, and put that out into the world? Because we've got it here, and we do.
Yeah. Well, what I think we can do is a lot of stuff that you're doing. Keep bragging about it. Keep talking about it. Keep ingraining it in the culture that there's a ton of stuff to be proud of. And, some of you are going to go around the world and you're going to learn things and you're going to like the city that you're in. But I think most of you are going to appreciate where you came from. And then a lot of times you're going to come back and just teach us something new. So keep going out there, but keep coming back.
Absolutely.
So I always end the show with asking the guest to tell us something to take us out. It can be deuces. It can be adios. It can be some profound thing. It can be another. You want to rattle something else off?
All right. I think I'm feeling a little bit preachy, so I'm going to go that route.
All right.
I want to tell everybody that's watching right now, anybody that's listening, to be kind to yourself. Jerry and I were talking before we got on about how life has been for us, and I feel like we both kind of came to the same conclusion that we're doing fairly well, all things considered. But a lot of people are not, and a lot of people are holding themselves to the standard that in quarantine they need to figure out some new avenue that they need to take in life, and that it needs to come into some self-improvement, very highly productive new vein. And just to recognize that we are in the midst of uncharted territory historically. We are in the midst of something that is unprecedented in our lifetimes right now, and it doesn't always have to bear positive fruit. You just need to be real with yourself and be kind to yourself and recognize that you are doing your best every damn day, and you need to keep doing your best every damn day. And it's in everybody's best interest to be kind to yourself, to be kind to others. Allow yourself to breathe, allow yourself to take that time, and know that it doesn't always have to be productive. If you're doing those things, it's productive on its own. And that's all I have to say about that.
And that's all I got to say about that, too. So deuces, everybody. Morgan took us out with a fine statement right there. See y'all tomorrow.
Thank you, Jerry.
You're welcome.